Okay. Great. Welcome everybody to our mental health and God conversation where we talk about all things mental health. And in the world where everything is filled with a lot of negativity and everything to leave you worried, as Propositive, we decide to look on the bright side. We decide to look on the positive side. And of course, just like we always do it every week today, we have our beautiful guest today, Kutlwano. We're not going to waste any of our time, guys, because we just need to get into the conversation. It's going to be a long weekend, and welcome everybody. And thank you so much for joining. But let's first welcome our guest. I don't know, Kutlwano, if you can unmute yourself so that we can be able to hear your voice and maybe see your face as well. There you are. Welcome, Kutlwano. How are you doing? Beautiful.
Hi, Kanisa. Well, thanks to you.
I'm good, very well. So we're not going to waste any of our time because we just want to get right into the conversation. So, as you know, mental health is affecting everybody in our country, either from a very young age to an adult. But this is a conversation that not everybody wants to talk about. But you decided to say yes because every day everybody is somehow has to make sure that they remain mentally healthy. We need to make sure that we remain mentally healthy, and in all of that we have to make sure that we have the right people in our circles, we have the right influence that make sure that we are fine. But our mental health is what is important so that we can be able to be operational on a daily basis. Now, I'm not going to waste any of your time, but we would just want to say thank you so much for saying yes to come and talk to us about this conversation or this topic that nobody wants to actually talk about. So thank you so much for saying yes and for coming in and talk to us. And thank you so much. So without wasting anybody's time, please just introduce yourself to everybody, and then we're going to get right into the conversation. Over to you, Queen.
Thank you, Tavisa. So I have notes here that I've wrote because I'm not a talkative person. So I just wrote
Yeah.
something so that I can remember. So I'm a mother. I'm a founder
Uh-huh.
of Loving Voice. Passionate
Uh-huh.
about educating the youth about loving their voice and finding their voice. Why? I was pushed in the corner growing up for the longest time, doubting myself. I
Uh-huh.
thought I was good enough. And later, I realized I am more than what I've been told I am. That's
Mm,
when I decided to start the page that Love My Voice or Love Find Your Voice rather. Um,
mm,
even though I ended the journey, oh how? Even though I ended my
yeah.
journey in the pageant, but I can definitely tell that a pageant for me was a healing space. And for
Uh-huh.
me, it was a space where I got to find who I am and find my voice.
Yeah.
So my best advice, cutting short, my best advice to anyone that join a pageant, just have your own goals and find your voice.
Uh-huh. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. That is a very powerful introduction, but we cannot wait to unpack, of course, as how you got yourself into a space where you found your voice and then you fell in love with your voice. And of course, when you tell us that when you then find yourself where you found your voice and now you want to just not just be for you alone, but for others, and how you get there and your journey. So thank you so much for coming in, and thank you so much for that. So we are going to get right into it, but just as we get right into it, you mentioned that you found yourself in a pageant, of which that is how, if nobody knows, we met, me and Kutlwano, as well as Lindo, as well as Dike Lady. Sorry, Lindo Kute. I know you're a gentleman, but as well as Dike Lady, we met in the pageant, and that's when I believe that based on the conversations that we had, we felt like these are the relationships and the women that we'd like to keep in our circle. And thank you so much for coming in. So you found yourself in the pageant, and then you then realized that you are more than that you were told that you were. Please tell us about that journey.
So when I joined the pageant, so most people wouldn't know. I think I also joined the pageant not knowing. that a pageant is more than just looking pretty, walking down on the stage, looking all pretty, with your makeup, with a good body shape. A pageant
Yeah.
pushed me rather in a corner,
Yeah.
in space where I had to go find sponsors, radio
Yeah.
interviews. That's when I started
Mm-hmm.
to no, man, I am more powerful than when I thought I was because I was
Yeah.
in a space where I was more comfortable with my voice. Guys, I
Mm-hmm.
hated my voice with all my heart. So the sound of my voice would
Yeah.
just irritate the hell out of me. But when I started doing radio
Mm-hmm.
interviews, listen to the voice over and over again, then that's when I found that, you know what, I'm powerful, I'm worth it, and I'm enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's a little bit about my journey and finding sponsors as well. I am in the marketing and communication space, but like I said, for the
Yeah.
longest time, I thought, yes, I know marketing, yes, I know communication, but am I good enough? I doubted myself, but the patient
Mm.
gave me that ammunition to say, Kutlwano, you are more than this, you can do it because I ended up getting like good sponsors. So it was for me
Yeah.
it was a big surprise, but yeah, I managed to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for that. Now, I know we've been through this, and I'm so glad that we're doing this together because, of course, it was a very difficult space where you also
Mm,
get to be exposed into a space where you have to sell yourself as a brand.
yes.
Whatever that you
Mm,
dream or you want to be, you now have to sell it to somebody else that now has to say, I believe in you and I believe in your dream. And now you found yourself in a space where you say, actually, when these people now believe in me, that means that there's something that they see in you
mm,
that you even yourself did not see, right? So
definitely, definitely.
right now you transition and you find yourself where you actually say, now I love it, and then you got your organization, Love Your Voice. So please take us more on that.
So Love Your Voice, like I said, I started the page in the organization rather when I
Yeah.
was in the page when I started finding my voice and loving my voice. That the aim is
Mm,
to I haven't done really much work on it, but I'm hoping that going forward I'll have like progress and work hard on it because the aim
yeah.
really is educate the youth about loving themselves and loving their voice because I believe if you love yourself first, it's so much
Mm,
easier for the next person to love you. But if you don't love yourself, if you don't find worth in yourself, it's very hard for the next person to say, yeah, well, you are worth
mm,
it. You know, let me give her a try. So I was very happy to see my stepdaughter to join a page. She joined the pageant without even telling me.
yeah,
She
I saw,
joined
we saw, we saw that. I saw that.
the So
Yeah.
that's when I realized that, you know what, I think I'm not doing enough, but I am actually doing something because I'm actually guiding her, even though I feel like, because I've been going through a lot, I feel like I'm not
Mm, mm,
supporting her as much as I should. Um, but I've made an
yeah.
impact in her life to say, you can do this through this platform. So patient is not all
Mm,
about beauty and all that, but yeah, I think it's about you finding who you are. And also, just to touch on that Love Your Voice
mm,
organization, I'd like to also make it broad because, from my view, when I started the page, it was all about girls because we believe that girls need support, a girl need a mother to mentor.
mm,
But after a recent incident that happened in my family, then I thought it
yeah.
should be broad. So we had an incident in our family where my cousin's sister's child
Mm,
was murdered at school. So he was stabbed
mm,
to death. And that's when I realized that maybe in the township community, we lack something. You know, there's no sports at the school, there's no any other extra meals for kids to like maybe focus on as well.
mm,
So crime is very high in that area. It's Orange Farm. The crime is very extremely high. And I realized that the boys are more in that crime and we don't
mm,
give them much attention. I think we too focus on the girls, but the boys also need attention. So
mm,
in Ubuntu, I think you should also, I hope next time you'll be a speaker speaking about how maybe you can collaborate with brands and be a mentor to one of our boys. Yeah,
Mm.
going forward. Yeah.
Wow, wow, thank you so much. There's a lot of things that we are given and that we are only us is tasked to do to actually make the change out there. Sometimes we find ourselves in these journeys and we finally, most of the time in these conversations, and we really talk about how we actually make it to the next step, how we actually
Mm,
overcame, how we actually were able to be get to the other side, to the other side of less depression, the other side where you love yourself, you have a better confidence, the other side of you where you believe that you can do anything. But as we get to the other side, I really think that as much as you actually just giving us as propositive as well, an eye opener, that it's not really just about that, it's these things that we have overcome, these things that we are tasked with, that we need to go out there and give
mm,
this the young us, the young girl
mm,
and the young boy that really is in the same space where we were also in, and we felt like we're never gonna be in this space, we're never gonna love ourselves, we're never gonna love our voices, and we're never gonna be in the spaces where actually we are better, but we are
mm,
better, we are more confident, we love ourselves, we have grown, we are healing. I think all of us in this space, and most of us, the ladies as well as the gentlemen, most of us are in the spaces where we feel like we have overcame. But really, what are we doing out there with everything that is happening in our country? Maybe it's an eye opener to say maybe we need to do more than just
mm.
saying we're just going to talk about it, but talking and inspiring the right people. So thank you so much for that. I think for now you can just take us a little bit more on how, of course, I know you've mentioned on how, of course, you want to give back to these children, but take us back on that incident because you just touched it. You didn't really like make it what really happened with this at school with the boy. So just take us a little back with that incident.
Um, so what happened is that the boys apparently had a misunderstanding the day before. It was a
Mm,
little fight about why you taking my a torch, apparently. Why you using my
mhm,
torch? And the other one said, I know, I just wanted to see how I can use a torch. So
mm,
so my sister's child thought, okay, it ended there. And then the next day he approached the sibling of that boy saying that, I don't
mm,
like what happened yesterday. Can you just talk to your brother so that maybe we can find a way of solving it? The brother came
mm,
and he was like, what are you saying to me? And then he was like, no, I just want to fix what maybe I did wrong yesterday because I was just playing with
mm,
your torch.
mm, mm,
And then the boy just took out a knife and stabbed him, apparently. He's
mm,
15 years old, and my
mm,
cousin's sister child is that passed away is 17 years old. So, but it's a real story. But the sad part about it also is that, like you said, Tabitha, I feel like even the teachers at school, I must say, I'm highly disappointed that
mm,
even the teachers, I mean, you take your child at school thinking that that's a safe space for a child to be at. So the child
mm,
started bleeding, and then the teachers were like, it's just a minor thing. So he
mm,
passed away because he lost a lot of blood. So the teachers didn't pay
mm,
attention.
mm,
So the other cousins that are in the same school had to take him, drag him outside of the school gate to find help from people outside of the school. That's when they managed to
mm,
take him to the clinic. And then unfortunately, when they got to the clinic, it was just too late. The principal, apparently he was not there, but the teachers were there and they said it's a minor thing. How can you say
mm,
it's a minor thing when kids are playing? Firstly, what does a knife want inside of the school premises? So I
mm,
think we are also not playing our role, in all honest. The teachers also. It's very sad and disappointing that
mm,
your child is not safe even at school. But yeah, we still don't have a way forward as yet as a family with regard to this.
mm.
We don't have answers. Um, yeah, it's just a case that's just flowing. I can just say that. But yeah, that's where I am right now. As a family, that's where we are currently right now. And that's what happened.
Wow. I am lost of words, and I really cannot wait to hear what everybody has to say about this, because obviously it has been a week that is full of events, and
Mm.
to just for you to come in and tell us that, that is very personal for a lot of us, because all of us here, we have sons, we have daughters, we are parents, we are raising kids in the same society of what is the same thing that happened to your very own to your very own niece. It could have happened to anybody. So we're very sorry for what happened, but also really there's something that really needs to be done. Either we speak or we scream louder, either we say it more to our children, either if you pray harder, but whatever that is happening right now, our children are in the same schools, and we cannot disregard the fact that there is a mental health issue. There is a
Yeah.
mental health issue happening in the very same schools. These schools that have these children that do not know how to manage their anger based on what is happening back home, or what is happening in the society, or what somebody had said. Something that we can all buy, something that we can all just get and replace. A life is lost. We cannot take that aside. We cannot disregard the fact that as we are having these conversations on a daily basis, but these are the things that are affecting everybody, and they are not just when somebody does that act, it affects not just that person,
Mm.
and it
Mm.
affects everybody. It affects the family, it affects the mother, but most of all, it is the environment now that other kids are watching this, and this is
Mm.
happening right in front of them. So I really don't know. I really don't know where we are going as a country, but I think we're being tasked as these individuals, as this generation, that actually see that actually these things are still happening in our societies. These things that happened to us, there's still a young girl that was raped just
Mm.
maybe last week, if not
Mm.
yesterday.
Mm.
There is still a young boy that is still suffering abuse right now in our society. So these are the things that we need to talk about. These are the things that we need to say, you know what? Let us not just love our voices, but let us use our voices. Let us use
Okay.
our voices. Let us use our voices and talk to everybody. We have a comment very well. Thank you so much from Propositive, my co-host. She has a question. Why didn't she love her voice? So it's for you, Kutlwano. Why didn't you love her voice? What were the things that we were said to her that had not made to her not love her voice? I think it's a question for you. And then we also have another comment from my co-host. Very true. We do have a responsibility to our society. Why did you not love your voice?
Like I said, um, I was in an environment, and I can still say sometimes I'm in that space, but I think
Yeah.
I've managed to what's the word? Managed to at least acknowledge that I'm worth it. But I was put in a corner for the longest time, where
Mm,
I was told, or being showed rather, that you are not worthy, you're not good enough.
mm,
I doubted
mm,
myself, even doubting it. Did I even choose the right career for myself? At some point I wanted to be a doctor. I'm horrible with names, but at some point I wanted to
mm,
be a doctor because
mm,
I and every time I would speak, maybe in public or when we are in that space where I was meant to feel that I'm not worthy, um, don't push me or shut my ideas away that yeah, whatever, or just
mm,
maybe crash my idea that it's not good enough. So I thought
mm,
maybe have you ever doubted yourself so much, asking yourself, is it my voice? Is it the perfume that I wear? Is it my walk? Is it how
mm,
I? So it was a lot, but for some reason I just thought like maybe it's my voice. I don't know why, out of all things, but
mm,
why I just didn't love my voice for the longest time.
mm.
Mhm.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for that. We've all have been in that space where we really did not have that much and we doubted ourselves. We also have been in that space. But thank you so much for your vulnerability and actually sharing that. I personally, remember, and maybe I've shared this before, I used to be the first person to say, when people say, and when people say they're beautiful, I'll be the first one to say, no, me, I am ugly. I used to confess it with my very own mouth, to a point where, based on what other people would say, based on what other people had said to me. So before people would do it to me, I would actually not say it by myself, until to a space, I don't know, it was not so long ago, actually, when I actually looked at myself and I said, actually, you're a very beautiful woman, and you need to love yourself, because you're not getting any younger. You need to love this young you, and because there's only one body that has been given to us. No, I also just have one more question now. And then, when did you stop? Because we all have those people that tell you you will never be anything, and it feels like your dreams are not valid. Feels like whatever that you say, whatever that you want to do, people look at you and say, you want to, you think you can be in a pageant, you think
Mm.
you can be a doctor. Actually, people who can be doctors that do not come from this family, people always have things. And I've realized that most of the time, when you say you want to be an actor, for example, someone will tell you that no, you should do nursing, don't dream too big, don't
Yeah.
dream too big. But they normally have a lot to say. But how did you get out of that space where you say, I can be anything, and started doing it?
Tabitha, I've been in counseling and I went through the process once again. I went through depression
Mm,
again earlier this year. Then I realized that, what, I think there's an inner voice that speaks to you that says, and I
mm,
never discourage anyone, by the way, to don't go for counseling. Counseling is not good. For me, it helped because at least
mm,
I can speak to someone, even though maybe my psychologist wouldn't say a lot, but should listen
mm,
to me. And I have her, the recent one, because she's a woman, should listen
mm,
to me, advise where she can. But when I lived there earlier this year, there was an inner voice. There's an inner voice in everyone. So that inner voice
mm,
was to say that you are worthy. Like I'm always saying, you are worthy. If
mm,
Tabitha believes that you cannot be a doctor, Tabitha is not God. There's something that I wrote here, Tabitha. Let me just look forward. Oh, it says, um, later I realized I am more than what I've been told, and no one has the
mm.
power to define you but the one who created you. No one has the power
Yes,
to but the one who
I love
created
that.
you. So if
Mm,
Tabitha or Dikeledi feels like I'm not worthy, guys, I'm sorry to say this in this platform, but you're not the creator, you're not God. So there's an inner voice that will
mm,
always speak to you and tell you that you got this. All you have to do is just give it a try. Earlier on
mm,
today, I spoke to my colleague, my former colleague. He was telling me that he was looking for a job for so many years. He's good. We cannot
mm,
doubt it. He's extremely good in
mm,
what he does. But he struggled for so long to get this job that he wanted. Finally, he got
mm,
it. And he said to me this morning, Kutlwano, you know what the trick? The trick is just to be honest in the interview phase. And then he said to me, what I did, I just told them that, you know what, guys, I've been doing this for so long. All I need now is for you to give me a fair chance. That's it. And I'll prove myself from there. So for me, that was it.
mm.
I think that's the answer.
Wow. Wow. Oh wow, that is so beautiful. Everybody, it is almost half past. It was almost half past. So we are going to open the conversation. If you have any contribution, any question, please do come through. I love the quote that you said that not even I myself has any say, but the one that created me. Only God has a final say. I we love God a lot in this platform, and one of the things that God, you said there's an inner voice. God created us and then He breathed on us. He made us and then He breathed on us. There will always be a connection between us and God, because we are also made in His image. People will always say that sometimes you give, I make this example, but you give birth to a son or you give birth to a child, they carry your name, and they look just like you. They can go out there and say no, they don't want to be in this family or whatever, but they will they will always be your child. They'll always be your son. Even if when they're not there, you always feel it that my child is not home, which is the same thing with God. In with the child, when it's away from the parent, it will always feel that I need to be with my mom, I need to be with my dad. And definitely with us as well, God is always telling us, you are worth it. You are beautiful. He's talking to us just like he spoke to you. He said, you are worth it. You are beautiful. You are enough. And you are the one that I am the one that has a final say. No one else has any final say in about you. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to just read our quotes. There is an inner voice speaking. Yes, definitely. I love that as well. Wow, that's very deep. God has the final say. Yes, all the time. God has the final say. God has the final say. Kutlwano, we also mentioned also that God is the one that spoke to you and told you that you are enough. God is the one
Yeah.
that said that in this conversation, of course, as we are waiting for everybody to just dive into the conversation because we cannot wait. With these conversations, we also talk about mental health and God. You found yourself when you were broken, until you found yourself, and when you had doubt, of course, there was a time when you were broken, you had doubt, until you found yourself when God spoke to you and assured you, that you are enough, you are worth it, and then you were better. Can you tell us about that transition? Because that transition, sometimes it happened over a day for some of us, and for some of us, it's just a decision. But how was it like for you?
Um, so like I think it was not an easy one for me, I must be very honest.
Mm, mm,
But I think with everything that has happened to me, the support that I have from my family, from my friends,
mm,
from the sisters that I felt through my patient journey, um, that helped me a lot to eventually decide that I'm moving from this point
mm,
to another point. It
mm,
was not an overnight decision that I made. I had to pray about it. I had to go to church and speak to God about
mm,
it.
mm, mm,
But I think after hearing that inner voice say that you are worthy, you are enough, and I deserve a
mm,
chance also to prove myself. Like my friend said today, that you all deserve a chance. And being
mm,
honest to yourself that this is who I am. Sometimes also, Tabitha, we need to be honest with ourselves that even
mm,
though you know that God has the final word, but I think the inner
mm,
voice will guide because you can't say, I want
mm,
to be a
mm,
doctor if you know deep inside your heart you've got an attitude towards maths or you're not good at
mm,
maths. You can't be good with
mm, mm,
everything.
mm, mm,
So sometimes you just also need to be honest to yourself and say,
mm,
okay, I think for me, the transition came in when I started noting down that this is my strength, this is my weakness. How can I
mm,
work on my strength rather than focusing on my weakness?
mm,
So that's
mm,
how I made it eventually, step by step. It never happened overnight, and I think I'm still
mm.
working towards that. Like I said earlier on, also that I'm not a
Yeah.
talkative person. This is my very first platform where I'm trying to be
I
open and
know.
honest who I am and or who I'm becoming rather. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's being true to yourself also. What is your strength?
yeah.
What is your weakness? Don't focus too much on your weakness. Try working on
Mm.
your
Yes,
weaknesses, but work harder on your strength because
and
that
your
is
strength.
why,
Yeah.
yeah, God created that strength for a reason. I think God created that strength for you to focus on that strength more than
Mm,
anything.
mm.
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
how I moved from that Kutlwano to the Kutlwano that I am or becoming right now.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Kutlwano, you've given us so much. You've given us so much. I know my co-host has a lot to say. She's bending wherever she is right now. But my co-host, want you to also touch base with what happens with the school. I know today Kutlwano has raised a lot of things like, for example, what had happened with your niece at school, and also what your life as well, and how you found your voice. But also, we can already tell where Kutlwano is going. But please, JD, if you have any question or contribution, please unmute your mic. Let us hear whatever that you have to say.
It's you saying that I have a lot to say for me. Like
I know.
Kutlwano, hi, and thank you so much for your share. Thank you for saying yes, as Tabisa has already said, and for actually breaking out of your comfort zone with you just saying that, this is like the first time that you're doing something. So I think I'll start with saying congratulations for definitely stepping out and putting
Yeah.
yourself out there. And so I think the first thing that I just want to just say is, what, the past few days I've been trying to make every conversation I have an action at the end of it. So when I talk to
Mm,
somebody, I want at the end of that conversation to be like, okay, what is that conversation asking me to do? And
mm,
so just listening to you, um, one thing that I have been reminded about is we go through what we go through not for ourselves. We go through
mm,
what we go through because actually there is a ministry behind what you went
mm,
through. And so, to what you were saying about just your voice, number one, I had to ask, I wanted to know what's the background story of you not liking your voice.
yeah.
Because to someone,
Mm,
it can seem like something weird, like something so. Voice yakho ngempela, 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 like the thing that you're born
mm,
with is the thing that
mm,
you wouldn't like. But the truth is, there are many of us that have things about ourselves that we don't like, that we don't say out loud, whether it
mm,
be the size of your arms, whether it be your voice, like you said, or how your teeth look. And whatever the case might be, it's different for a lot of us. And so I just wanted to know what it was behind that, because we often don't speak on our insecurities. And so to have
mm,
somebody say, actually, just the sound of my voice for me was very hard to actually deal with. So I commend you on being able to do that, because then you're giving other people the freedom and the space to say, I can actually speak out, and my speaking out gives me power then to begin to love myself, because it's the things that we don't talk about that often have a big hold on us. But again, I,
mm,
like I said, I have a lot to say, but let me keep it short. There is definitely a ministry behind what we go through. And so for me, I was reminded that indeed
mm,
everything I have gone through is for me to not only find my voice, but to allow others to speak up, to allow others to have a voice. If they can't speak up for themselves, I want to be the person that creates spaces where I can speak up for them. And so for me, that's
mm,
my action now, to go back to, Lord, what was my experience for? What was what I went through for? And how can I use that to help the next person? Because we are our society, we are our world. And so have to put that in action. And yeah, I think for me, that's definitely my takeaway from what you've had to
mm,
say. And, just regarding the safety of our kids in schools, man, like being a mom myself, listening to your story made my tummy turn from the inside, because
yeah.
it's quite worrying that that's what's happening in our society. However, like Tabisa was saying, and you were saying, we do have a responsibility to teach our children and to pray over them, because really, the moment your child leaves your house, you've got little to no control over what the next person is going to do. And so for me, it's definitely also another push to say, pray, pray, pray always. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution, my co-host. I think with today and with everything that has happened, I'm just gonna with the summary that JD has given and my co-host has given, is that whatever that we have been going through is not just for us, but there's others that are actually have can get to a space where they lose their life. Only maybe our stories and our whatever that we've been through can maybe help them to change their life or find hope someone is sitting somewhere without knowing what they're going to do next. And we were there. We were in those spaces. We were in those spaces where we doubted ourselves. Honestly speaking, today's conversation is really mostly more of an eye opener to us, to say that I have given you these things and put them in your heart because they're not just for you. There's a multitude and a lot of people that need that testimony, need to hear that it's going to be fine, need to hear that I did it, need to hear that the wound does eventually heal. I'm going to point out my very good friend Dike Lady. I know that you also have been in the journey with us. One of the reasons why I'm pointing you out, Dike Lady, is because the journey really pushes you to spaces that you were not sure, that you really didn't know that you were going to find yourself in. And you have to do it because it's part of the journey. We thought it's just about the beauty and everything, but you have to find sponsors, you have to speak to strangers, you have to sell your brand, you have to have a something that you say you stand for. And all of us, actually, out of that pageant, we came out and we started our organizations and our businesses. So Dike Lady, as well, with everything that Kutlwano has shared today, it was also something, as we having this reunion, that you know what, we don't just have these things as all and these stories and these testimonies and these dreams and visions, but we also have a ministry and a job and work that we need to do out there that is really not just about us. Dike Lady, please give us your share or your take on this from this conversation.
Thank you, Tabitha. I'm saying to my husband that my mind, there's a lot on my mind, with what Kutlwano is saying, and it's just racing. And I want to
Yeah.
contribute. I want to raise my hand, but I don't know, which part to touch first.
Mhm.
So I'll just maybe just touch on the pageant itself, since that's the first thing that you said before you could say I could speak. A lot of times we think that a pageant is all about the beauty. It's all about your figure. It's all about the catwalk. And once you're in there, you actually realize that it's more than that. Just looking at your Zozibini, that you should be able to speak. And most of the time, we don't even think about that, when I enter a pageant, can I actually think on the spot? If they throw a question at me, about politics, will I be able to tackle it? And will it even make sense to the next person? How am I going to be able to reach the next person? Will it even, my contribution, will it even help? And am I somebody that is, willing to go the extra mile and be there all the time? Because if you look at the pageant queens, they're quite busy. Like, when do they have their lives? Because they have this charity work, they have events to attend and all those things. There's a lot of work involved just behind the scenes. But when you look at it and you just see them walking on stage with makeup on and a beautiful dress, you think that's all that you have to contribute. But there's actually a whole lot more that goes in. And you learn a lot and you discover yourself, and you are put in a position where you're forced to find your voice. And I would like to commend you, Kutlwano, for not only finding your voice, but for falling in love with it. I'm also one of the people that I can't really say I don't love my voice, but I don't like hearing the sound of my voice. Like, if I use a voice note, which I hardly use in any case, I would never play it back to hear myself. If I record a video, for instance, I would not even go back and play it, to critique it, because I don't want to hear my voice. So I think maybe I have issue with my voice. I don't know if I think that it sounds horrible or whatever, but yeah, that is the thing. So when I was saying that my mind was racing when she was talking, I would like to say condolences to you and family. It is not an easy thing losing a family member, and especially a child. And by the sound of, the story, he was a peacemaker. He was someone that was actually trying to make peace with this person, and that ended up, obeying his death. And the school did not even help in this whole situation. So I believe God is very intentional on where he places us and at the time that he places us. And I have this thing with names that the name that you're given, it's for a reason. Like my name literally translates tears, Dikeledi's tears. So I think that's why, you know, I really empathize with people so easily because my name is Tears. So your name, Kutlwano, is a peace bringer. I stand to be corrected, but I think it's peace bringer, somebody, you know, that brings peace in the family. And I believe God placed you in a pageant last year for you to literally find your voice and to start this Love Your Voice. And with what just happened in the family, because I'm a positive person, I always look at positive side of things. I was not always like this, but that is a part of me that I have discovered. Like I also discovered my voice. I did not know that I'm actually a great speaker, but yeah, I'm not blowing my own horn, but yeah, I've discovered that
Because you are.
So I think that God wanted you to enter a space where you're comfortable with going to radio stations and speaking and starting a platform where you tackle these issues. So this issue of bullying with your nephew, you can actually take it and use it. You know, go back to that very school and talk about bullying and how bullied has robbed you of a life. You know, and there is power in a message coming from the victim, because you are the victims of this crime, you know, and you coming to say, this is not okay. This is what has cost us. It will open up room for the school to also see that everybody is responsible and everybody has a part to play. Just because it's not your child, it does not mean that you cannot reprimand them. Just because it's not your child, it does not mean you cannot take care of them. Because if it was the teacher's child, the one that actually just, you know, took it as something lightly, if it was your child, you would not just take a scratch lightly. I mean, I can just imagine my boys, if they're playing outside and one comes home screaming, I can hear them from afar, but already I'm running to find out what it is that they're crying about and how I can make it better. So if it is your child, you are more empathetic, you know, with that person. So it shows that the teachers there, they have given up. You know, it's either they know that they have a huge problem of bullying and they're just not willing to, you know, take charge or take control of that situation. And it could be that parents are also not involved and they're not helping, because you can only do so much. You can only talk to the child. You can only say, stop doing this, don't bring a knife to school. But if the parent is not reprimanding that child and is not doing anything to support the school, unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done. But it takes a village to literally raise a child and to make them realize that there's better ways in dealing with situations. And like you said earlier, you know, boys, like we don't care about boys. We care about the girl child a lot of times. Like, oh, a girl, you know, you must teach them how to carry themselves, know your worth, you know, you deserve better, you must now, you know, enter these spaces and dominate. But okay, fine, they're entering the spaces, they're dominating. Who's gonna marry this dominant woman? Because you're equipping the girl child to be empowered, but you're not equipping the boy child to handle this empowered woman. So there should be a balance, you know, there should be a balance on the boy should also be given or being equipped. And that is through history, when we just look back, the girls are the ones that are taught things and the boys, they're not really teaching them much. Because even when you're about to get married, they call the woman and they tell you, you know, how to carry yourself in a marriage. But what about your husband? So you know how to carry yourself, but the husband does not know if how you're carrying yourself is actually a good way, if it was okay. And when you voice out things, he does not even know how to handle that, because, I mean, who set him down to say, this is how you take care of the household? And the other thing that you touched was, like I said, my brain is just running wild.
Yeah.
The other thing that you said was, I think it was about loving your voice, you know, that you were critiquing yourself. And that is literally true. We are our biggest critics. We see faults in us that other people cannot even see. And sometimes, you know, it could be because on the magazine, they said this one is beautiful, or oh, Beyonce has got an angelic voice. So therefore, because your voice does not sound like Beyonce's, then it is not, you know, good enough. Or because it's more bold, it is loud. And everybody would say, oh, but when are you loud? But that is your voice, you know, yeah, you're loud, and now you are critiquing yourself to say, this voice of mine is not good enough. Like, how do I tone it down? You're trying to now fit into this box that people create for yourself. And there's always people watching you. You don't know who you're inspiring in your walk. Like, look at your stepdaughter. She has entered a pageant. She was inspired by you. You might have even judged yourself to say, oh, I did not even do great in this whole thing. Why did I even enter? I did not even make it to finalists or whatever, because we are our biggest critics, you know, like, but who would be inspired by me? I even struggled to make sponsorship. I struggled to do this and that. My outfits were not even great. And people don't even see that. All they see is just you being brave enough to put yourself on a platform that big, you know, but you are judging yourself. So fear limits you, because fear is what comes in the moment that you start nitpicking on things. And if we, you know, this morning, my mind is going faster than my mouth. My mouth is not catching up. So this morning I attended, it is a master class. And this lady that was talking, her name was Jodine. She was talking about how to calm your mind, or how to cultivate an environment where your mind is calm. And she mentioned like 6 steps. One is the environment that you're in. You should be aware of the environment that you're in. If it brings you calm, it brings you peace, or if it's an environment that is just stirring up things that you don't like. And you've got to have a time and a routine. You've got to set up time for yourself and have a routine, because the routine helps you focus and it helps you calm your mind, because you know that, oh, at this time I've got to have coffee, or 5 o'clock I wake up and this is my prayer time. You know, that calms your mind because you know what is to come. Because fear, it also, you know, causes anxiety, because you don't know what's coming and how it's going, because we have expectations, and those expectations, sure, it looks like I'm taking too much time, but I'll just go quickly. And then there's social support. Like, you should have support in the social sphere. Who are you hanging out with? Who is supporting you? Do you have a safe space where you can just voice out what you feel without being judged? And we struggle with that a lot of times. And that's why, you know, we find ourselves depressed and we cannot even talk to our families. And that is a good thing, that you can have a therapist, you know, a psychologist that you can talk to, because you really need, you know, someone that can support you socially. In most cases, you find that they don't even give you a solution. You already have a solution within yourself, like the inner voice, as you call it, Kutlwano. You have the inner voice that is going to tell you that actually, when you're busy worrying about things that don't even exist, you are okay. But speaking is what will help you realize all these things, because when you bottle things in, that's when, you know, it's just brewing and it's causing a whole lot of problems. And she also mentioned digital detox, because digital stuff like your TV or your Instagram and whatnot, it creates a whole lot of expectations, and it causes you, you know, to feel pressure, and you want to reach things that are even beyond you, if I can put it that way, you know, that are not even in line with your purpose. And mindful relationships, you should be in mindful relationships, and you should have a self-care practice. So yeah, did I mention that God is intentional with your plans or with your life? I did.
No, you did. No,
I did not. So
you
I'm saying,
didn't,
yeah, God
but,
places you.
just
I think I
rip
did.
out. Okay.
Like I said, my mind is everywhere, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just leave
No,
it there to give
definitely.
others an opportunity to speak. Thank you so
No,
much.
definitely, but we would really love to have those 6. I don't know if maybe you can just type those 6 steps for us on the comments, because we really need to know how to calm our minds, because these minds, they have a lot. You know, I also, a lot was happening in my mind when you mentioned the story with your niece, and then you mentioned a lot of things, because this, in fact, what happened with your niece just changed the entire conversation of today. And it was just also not, maybe not just an eye opener to say to just you alone, but to all of us in this conversation today, that there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Yes, we have been through a lot. Yes, a lot is happening, but the one thing that I can say with you, Kutlwano, I'm taking from this is that your voice is the one that has a lot of power that even before you knew how powerful and how beautiful your voice and how much your voice can change lives, the enemy or the people around you made you, because of what they said, made you to hate your voice. This is exactly what I'm getting, because there's a lot of people that need to hear that voice, and a lot of people need to hear our stories and our testimonies. We do have guys in this conversation. Mr. Daliso, please do unmute your mic before I waste any more time, and do share. We really need a man's perspective, a young boy that could have been changed by ourselves telling our stories or doing more out there, has lost his life. And also, please just do give us your share from this conversation. Over to you, Daliso.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much to our speaker today for sharing such an inspiring story and just opening up. And I picked up like amazing stuff that is just like resounding in my mind. Like being true with yourself, honesty with yourself, strength, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, having a good support system. And I think ultimately the speaker made it clear to say connecting with God. And I just want to say that God has destined each and everyone for greatness. So as long as you are alive, which means there is hope for you to be great, to have a great destiny and a future. But then again, the enemy, the Bible says in John 10:10, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Three things. And he will go to any extent. Even when you're young, you hear to say, no, I was raped, I was this, I was that. And he is trying to steal your future, trying to steal your peace, trying to steal all the positive energy and bring in all the negative energy. And you start asking yourself, but why this? Why that? Does God love me? And you start asking yourself all those kind of questions, because he's trying to steal your peace, your self-love, your confidence, and your joy. And so many things are affected. But I think that one of the points that Kutlwano raised is connecting with God, seeking first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, because you're going back to the one who made you. And he starts renewing your mind and changing every negative thing. And he starts giving you even the ability now to say, you know what, even in business, I'm not just there to make your spiritual life very nice for you to speak in tongues, but in every sphere and every area of your life to be successful in marriage, in your future, in your career, and so many other things. Yeah. So yeah, that's my take from this composition. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know. I don't want to say anymore, but I don't want to leave these two people out before we only have 2 minutes. So Lindo, quickly, I'm going to give you a minute if you'd like to unmute and give us your share for any take that you got from this share.
Oh, thank you, thank you so much, right? Tabisa, the host, and Kutlwano. Yeah, I just pick up the lot, right? And I got to learn today. I was not sure what the meeting was about, but I saw the mental illness, mental health, and God in it on the post. So I got to, right, it triggered my mind, right, to be part of the meeting and get to understand. So, right, I have learned a lot. And yeah, from Kutlwano speaking, I've got to understand, like, we're going through a lot individually, but some of the things we're unable to share with other people. So opportunities or platforms like this, they give us a platform, an opportunity to get to share how we feel and things that we're going through, right? So yeah, I'm motivated, and I just started an organization, a foundation, right, for all the young boys out there. Because I felt like we weren't given support, right? There's no support that we're given, and there's no form of like a way that is paved for us as men, right? Not but as men individual. We started it with my baby sister, but I feel like as men we're given support, and yeah, there's nothing that we are given to go out there and fight the battles that are out there in the world. So we need to put God first, but individually, like, we don't respect ourselves. She spoke about her voice. I didn't go to a similar situation on the voice, but I started working for a company, telecommunication, and every time a customer would say, "You have a great voice," right, at the end of the call. So that it was confusing at first, but now as she spoke about her voice, it triggered me that we don't appreciate what we have. She had a great voice, but she was not able to appreciate it at that time, right? But with God, she was able to find the strength afterwards to understand that you do have a great voice, and you are able to take the word and go out there and speak for yourself. But thank you so much for the opportunity, Tabisa and Kutlwano, and everyone who's part of the meeting. Thank you so much, guys.
Right, thank you so much, Lindo. Please don't forget to DM Kutlwano. All right, I'm gonna give a minute to Salvation, and then after that we'll ask Kutlwano to just give us a close Salvation. Do you have any take that you got from this share? Salvation, I don't know if you can speak.
Oh, okay. You caught me off guard. Okay, I was busy with something. But you know, when Kutlwano was speaking, I also remembered, especially about like looking down on ourselves and not thinking that we are good enough. I was reminded of this poem by Miriam Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measures. It is our light, not our darkness, that most threaten us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not save the world. So this came as an inspiration for me that as a child of God, I need to look at myself the way God looks at me, that I am good enough. You know, this sometimes, like I don't know who's that spoke that who spoke that, like, sometimes you won't even like your voice. Like, even when you've done a voice note, you don't want to listen to your voice. I think I have that as well. So today I'm so inspired that I can look at myself the way God looks at me. Yeah, that's my take.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Salvation. And thank you so much for sharing my favorite quote. I love it so much. Your playing small does not serve the world. Kutlwano, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us today. We really out of time, running out. We've already ran out of time. But please, just what do you want to leave us with today? What do you want? What is that one thing that you would like us to remember as we close this conversation?
Two things: empathy and excellence. Empathy, be kind, grace. Excellence, do your best, and leave the rest to God. That's it.
Empathy and excellent. I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is exactly 3 minutes past 8 o'clock. We are 3 minutes over. But thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Kutlwano, for coming in, sharing your story. We are taking so much. My mind is full. You mentioned so many things. Go and sit down, check out your strengths as an individual, to check out your weaknesses, work more on your strength though, even though you see your weaknesses, but work more on your strength. That, for me, when you said that, that was propositive, and that was saying focus on the positive side. So everybody, as we go through the long weekend, we say, please remain propositive. Look for the positive things through it all that is happening. Remember that you are worth it, you are good enough, and we will see you this time, same time next week at 7 o'clock. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kutlwano.
Good night. Night, night.
Good night.
Hey,
Recording.
yo. Still recording, wait.